Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I've Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio. And welcome to another Monday Mini, and happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Yes, as this comes out, as we record it, it is Pride Month 2025. Today is June 12th, 2025. And I put this in here because this is one where I feel like some things are going to happen in the next few weeks around this conversation. And we'll see how it plays out. But I just wanted to talk about a conversation I have seen playing out online that didn't really surprise me, but I was still like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense that we're having this conversation. So basically, as part of Trump's anti-DEI initiatives and growing anti-LGBTQ plus sentiments, a lot of big companies are pulling their support from Pride. According to a Slate article by Christina Catarucci called "The End of the Rainbow," quote, "This year, the exodus ramped up. In one survey of 49 executives at Fortune 1000 companies, nearly 40% said their businesses plan to dial back their engagement with Pride Month this year, either internally or externally. Only 9% said the same last year. It is a huge slump in funding and frankly pretty disheartening. Pride organizations are reporting a massive loss of funding, in some places up to 70 to 90% for some smaller organizations. And this includes posting any kind of support for Pride-themed events, selling Pride-themed products, sponsoring Pride-themed events. It also involves tariffs and companies trying to shore up their business in any way that they can against them, right or wrong. So being like, well, there are tariffs, so no Pride this year, that sort of thing. I mean, it's not surprising. We always say companies are not allies. They go wherever the politics and money tell them to go, largely. So it's not a surprise. It does suck. But also, Pride parades were never meant to be these places where companies kind of infiltrated, especially when they're not true allies. They've clearly demonstrated several times. This is not news. So some people are sort of glad at this. That was not a pun I meant to make. But they're sort of like, yeah, get out. We didn't want you here in the first place. Especially if you're not supporting us as a community in any real way, other than just kind of showing up and taking up space from actual queer people. And the people who are in that kind of feeling think they are hoping that the parades and events become more local and more actually Pride-based instead of this big corporate event. And this is a long-standing debate in the queer community. We've talked about it before. As early as the 1970s, activists were trying to reclaim Pride from businesses. Others think that there is potential to make queer sponsorships with mainstream brands and just in general feel more accepted. So, seeing these big companies at these events, some people argue is pretty big. These big companies are paying for this generally big party, after all. And some people feel like it's nice having this kind of mainstream support, even if it's flimsy, or even being able to get Pride-themed products in mainstream stores, because some people don't have ready access to those things, depending on where they are. It can feel like progress. It really isn't, and obviously it can change at any moment, but there are a lot of different viewpoints about this. Also, a lot of these companies' Pride initiatives are led by straight people. And a lot of the participants on the floats of these companies in pride parades are straight, which takes away from actual queer people. I mean, I'm not saying, I personally don't think, having true allyship is bad, but if it's like all straight people, that is a little
right.
Some companies are still supporting pride, but apparently don't want their logo shown, which is not. Okay. I mean, I hope that means it's honest support, but it also sounds like you just don't want the backlash of being actually someone who cares about this, or a company that cares about this. So that's a conversation that's happening. And we have, as I said, discussed before how antithetical this is to the core of what pride was historically, and how there has been pushback against it, especially as we've gotten more like, I don't know, police involvement in the parade, or even military involvement in the parade. Some organizations are rejecting any funding from any companies that they themselves reject DEI funding. So some are doing it that way. But this is complicated for a lot of reasons, because it is nice to get rid of corporate influence. I spoke about when I went to a pride parade in October, and it was so many companies that I was like, I know for a fact you actually really don't support the LGBTQ plus community. And not only that, you actively campaign against us. So it would be nice to see less of that and get back to the heart of what it was and what it was meant to be. But also, LGBTQ plus businesses that rely on these companies are sounding the alarm, as we discussed in our episode with Bridget about the Target boycott. So it's complicated. I'm glad we're having the conversation, and I don't come here with any answer, because ultimately, in my ideal world, the companies would just be good companies and support causes, but they don't do that, and I know that they won't. And they would support the cause and put their logo on, but not take up the parade space. You know what I mean? Like, do more than, hey, we checked off this box,
right?
So we're good,
right?
But I that is interesting that is happening right now because of all this backlash and DEI stuff. So I want to see what happens with Pride this year.
Mm-hmm.
With that, I personally haven't been to any events yet, so I can't speak to it, but I'll report back.
Right. Well, people were confused because Georgia, we've talked about this in Atlanta, the fact that a lot of the times the big Pride event happens in October.
Yeah.
For Atlanta. So people are like, what's happening? And you already talked about that with some of the backlash and the reasoning behind that. But yeah, I've already seen like in Florida where they're trying to ban it, that people are like, now we're going to do things, watch us. So it's been nice to see that. That feels comforting. Sad, but comforting.
Yeah, I mean, that's another aspect that we're not going to talk about today, but that is, that's another thing. It's just banning it outright and people being like, nope, we're going to do it anyway. So listeners, please write in with your thoughts about this, or if you're participating in any of these events, how they look like, how you dealt with this. Please let us know. You can email us at hello@stuffwenevertoldyou.com. You can also find us on Blue Sky at Momsa Podcast, or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff We Never Told You. We're also on YouTube. We have a TeePublic store, and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christina, our executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff We Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your favorite shows.